Shalom, friends. And Parshat Masai, Tufshin Aleph, in the summer of 1941, the Piaseczner Rebbe in the ghetto Warsaw gave one of his most, in my opinion, deepest, and inspiring drashot about the concept of Chevlei Mashiach, of the birth pangs of the Messiah that are described by the rabbis as being a prelude to the messianic final redemption, that there'll be a period of suffering. And he goes back and says the source of this idea goes back actually to the punishment of Eve after eating from the apple or whatever, not the apple, whatever the fruit was in the Garden of Eden. And she was given the punishment of Be'etzev tildi banim, you'll give birth in childbirth and will be painful. He says Hashem is not a tit-for-tat kind of guy, like you didn't listen to me, so I'm going to punish you. What's happening in the stories in the Garden of Eden are all the foundational narrative realities of our existence. So it's a very deep idea within the nature of reality that's being talked about. And he says what it means is that anytime something of significance is going to be created or born or come into reality, there's always going to be something that has to be destroyed or broken down or decay in order to make room for it to come into reality. And he brings in this context a very, very famous idea that's found in so many Sfarim of the seed, that when you plant a seed, you throw it into the ground and where it disappears and it rots and disintegrates, and only after reaching a point of total disintegration then does it start to grow under the ground, and you end up having a massive, huge, beautiful tree which is much, much bigger and greater than the seed, but the seed had to be thrown in the ground and destroyed in order for the tree to grow. And he says that that's really what Be'etzev tildi banim means, that childbirth is dependent upon pain, that always something will give way in order to create room for something new. And he says that that's really also the nature of the Geula, of the final redemption, which comes through Am Yisrael. And he says, therefore, before the Geula, before the Messianic redemption comes to fruition, there will be a period of suffering, and people will die, and people will suffer, and it will be very, very hard. But one should know that this is giving birth to the Messiah. And he says it's like the woman, going back to his original statement about Eve, he says when a woman is giving birth, when she's on the mashber, the Hebrew word for a birthing chair is mashber, which means shever, means brokenness, means crisis, and yet it's a crisis that leads to new life. So he says when she's sitting on the mashber, and she's what he would describe basically like transition, he says everyone around her knows that the baby is coming out, only she doesn't know that. She just feels the pain. But everyone else is aware that the birth is happening. He says this is what's going on with the Geula. Hashem sees the birth. Hashem is the cosmic midwife, giving birth to the messianic redemption, and he sees what's really happening, but we are in the midst of the difficulties preceding it. We don't see it. We're, like Rav Soloveitchik says in Kol Dodido Fake, we see the back of the tapestry with all the loose threads, and we don't see how it fits together into a coherent and beautiful whole picture. But I think the way he ends really, the point being is Be'etzev tildi banim, childbirth will come through suffering, can be read also backwards, meaning that whenever there's suffering, you should know that it's leading to the birth of something greater. So we're going through difficult times, and we should know, we should have emunah, that Hashem has a big plan, and he sees it and we don't, and that something good and beautiful will come out of all of our suffering. We need to strengthen our emunah and do what we need to do to make everything as good as we can and stay strong and know that we're heading in the right direction, Bezrat Hashem. So, Besorot Tovot, good tidings, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone.